Hi, baby boomer fans. We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Greetings, everybody. There are some times when we have a guest return for a second Fun Chat, and today is one of those days. Peggy Steele Olson was our guest on May 6th, and in case you didn't get a chance to listen to that Fun Chat, it's number 139. She grew up in Coffeyville, Kansas, and she's taking us back there again today to tell us about exciting news that's occurring in Coffeyville. Jackie, let's get in there.
Okay, so folks, this is Peggy. At that time, when World War II had just ended, Peggy Steele Olson was born in Coffeyville in southeast Kansas, 1 mile north of the Oklahoma border. Peggy earned a master's degree in education from Northwestern University and special training in Chicago at Second City. Higher education opened doors to several career paths for her. She lives in Phoenix during the winter and returns to her hometown of Coffeyville to work on a meaningful and involved project. So welcome back again, Peggy.
Thank you. I appreciate being back. I really enjoyed the chat before, and I'm in Coffeyville now. So you may see in back of me, in fact, is one of the homes that I spoke about, which started all of this in Coffeyville, which is my grandma's house.
Okay. Should we show some before and after pictures?
Absolutely. So let me just tell a little bit before you do that. So I did not intend to come back to Coffeyville and spend a better part of a year here for several years working on revitalization. It evolved because it was kind of those things in life where I realized I was meant to be here. And so it started with grandma's house, trying to save it from being destroyed. It was one of those 1910, 1912 bungalows that surround the town, and common people lived there, not the rich, fancy city people. And grandma raised a family of 6 in this little house. So I bought it, and I'll show you what can be done. We have a big project here to try to save the bungalows, and this is part of what we're trying to do.
And these are all on 9th Street in Coffeyville?
These are all on my beloved 9th Street, where I talked earlier about pulling a little red wagon and selling potatoes, salt and pepper shakers, and greeting cards door to door in the 50s.
Okay.
So, my first job.
Well, that prepared you well. I've got some before and after pictures.
Oh, great.
Okay, so if you want to just monitor them, talk about them.
Okay. Well, the one that you're showing, that's the older home, if you could hold it just a little higher, that would be great. Yeah, that was what grandma's house looked like the day that I bought it at the tax sale. And it actually was worse than that because the roof had been off of it, and it had been abandoned for a period of time. And if nobody bought it, it was going to be bulldozed down. So I bought it. Couldn't stand. They lived there until 1973. And so they lived there for 60 years, and it just broke my heart. Yeah. So we revised the whole thing.
Okay.
Modeled it. Yeah.
We have some more.
Another picture of what it looked like. It was so bad, even the druggies wouldn't live there. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. But it was grandma's house, so I bought it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And what room is this room over here?
That is one of the bedrooms.
Oh, okay. Okay, and look at what the living room looks like today.
Okay, we took that little house and we opened it up. I never knew that grandmother had enough space in her attic to live there, but we opened it up, and that spiral staircase you see goes up to a loft and a bedroom and a bathroom. So we now have a 1,600 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with a very open living area and lots of outside living spaces, which I show in some of the pictures.
Yes, that's gorgeous. That stairwell is just phenomenal. Peggy, how did you ever decide? I'm going to get you on full screen now. How did you ever decide to
redecorate it with the fixtures that you did and remodel and
love redecoration. Not a licensed designer, but with my theater background, because it was theater education from Northwestern, I took stage design, so I understand color and scale, and that is really important in any kind of design. So I was able to design the floor plan, and then a person who was an architect and also happened to be the city planner, who was married to a old college or a high school classmate, helped me be sure that the structure was sound. We had to put beams in and things like that, and have a structural engineer to inspect it. So I had help, but I didn't work with a designer, and it is so comfortable. I can't tell you how wonderful it is. You can see in back of me where the kitchen is. So it's an open concept, and that kitchen unit, at the time when I purchased it from a decorator, a high-end decorator in Oklahoma City, and it was a floor model, and they put it on Craigslist about 45 minutes before I found it, and got it for 10 cents on the dollar. U-Haul and brought it up here. Because we knew we were going to have this open design, and we wanted something really spectacular, but not too city looking. So look at the edges there where you see the tree trunks.
Yes.
And I just love it. I love it. And then it didn't have enough. So we had the island and we had the back piece where the stove and the hood is, but we didn't have units for the refrigerator and the oven. So I went to Home Depot and got wood, very inexpensive wood cabinets about that color, and put on handles that look similar. And you think it was all made to go together. So really, really high end look for far, far less money. And people can do that. I mean, you have to think about where you're going to go and use good judgment in what you buy. But yeah, that's
well, and doing it yourself. What joy to be able to do that.
It was. Well, and then I had to use licensed contractors per the city and of course everything's up to code, but everything I didn't have to use licensed contractors for, I used local people. Many of them really needed work. They didn't have high levels of skills. Some were convicted felons who had done their time, and neighbors who were convicted felons who had done their time. And so they deserved a chance, but it was really hard for them to get a chance because of that. And so they came in and did things like painting, and they were wonderful to work with because they were so thankful for a job, willing to learn, and had great stories.
Oh, maybe we should have some of them on the podcast.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, so I'm going to show some more Grandma's house, the before and after.
Oh yeah, look at that old bathroom. Now that's not a place you'd want to spend a lot of time. I wanted to have a clawfoot tub, and so that's an acrylic tub. Got it online. Got a lot of things online, and of course it has jets, and really is part of a very spacious bathroom that we truly enjoy, because it's not just a place to run in and run out and take a shower and everything, but just it's a really nice roomy room for a little bungalow like this. Unusual.
Refresh my memory again. Did you say that your grandma was the first person to live in this home?
We think so. There's conflicting stories. We know that they moved in right after it was built, but we can't find documentation on when they moved in. So we think that when they moved in was when these little bungalows were being built. It was either then or a year or two afterwards. Yeah. My dad was just a baby, and she raised, as I said, a family of 6 and 800 square feet. And there was no electricity and no bathroom, at that time. So when in these little bungalows, when they added on the bathrooms, they often added a little lean-to attachment to the back of the bungalow. And that's where Grandpa slept, because Grandma and Grandpa did not sleep together. That's where Grandpa slept, where Grandma had her sewing machine, her plants, and there was a little bathroom. So, and the electricity hung down by wire, and you pulled a string for a light bulb.
Mhm.
So many of us remember that back, when we grew up in the 40s, 50s, whatever, because they were still that way. Homes were still that way.
Yes. Peggy, what's the first memory that you think of when you're in this home?
Well, the porch.
Oh.
These homes had sidewalks and alleys. We burned our trash on the alley. Now you'd get put in jail for that. And we sat on the porch in Grandma's porch swing. And Grandma was a Southern Baptist, and she made me recite my Bible verses. So when I went to training union and Sunday school, I could make her proud because we all went to the same church. And so we sat and we swang, and then she'd tell me stories. We'd read the Bible and we'd pray, and she made me, recite my verses, and then she'd gossip to me about the neighbors.
Well, that's interesting.
Mixed messages
Kind of
there.
a nice balance for life, if you know what I mean.
I'm going to show you a couple pictures of the backyard from Grandma's house.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the room with the furniture is a big deck that we added on, but because of the flies, we had a problem with it. So we added a screened in area. So we screened it in.
Mhm.
And it is like a wonderful, it's really about a 2.5 seasons room. Someday we may make it into a 3 or 4 seasons room. Now, when you look out from that room, you see that walkway with the roses and that little house, but that's really a garage. But we didn't want to make it look like the back of a garage because it has an alley entrance. So we made it look like a little house. And the interesting thing is, if the size of the backyard is pretty significant. When we grew up in the 50s, Grandma and Grandpa lived here, obviously, and they farmed their whole food supply from that backyard, except for grain and protein. So all the vegetables that they had were grown in that backyard. So that was a huge garden.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. Was there probably wasn't any grass growing, was there?
Not if Grandpa could help it.
Okay. Yeah, just all garden.
Right. He had vegetables. He was out there every day.
So is that where you got those potatoes that you sold from?
No, I didn't. Did you say stoled or sold?
Sold.
Oh, okay, good. I thought maybe I misspoke myself. I was a good kid. Old man Paulette had a farm outside of town where we had a horse, and he had Babe and Queenie, the old plow horses, and he used to drive an old hand plow and behind Babe and Queenie and plow the fields. And my sister and I planted and then dug potatoes. And so we learned hard, strong work ethic early on. My sister was 7 years older than me, and so much smarter in many ways. And she was smart enough to know that she would help me plant them. She would go out and kind of advise me on digging them up, which was hard work. We'd dig them up, then she'd come home and bag them, wash them, bag them, and sack them and weigh them. But I had to go door to door to sell them. And so, but they didn't charge us for the potato seed, the pieces of potato that you planted or anything like that. So our margins were very good. I didn't know the meaning of the word margin at the time, but now I look back on it and I thought, boy, that was pretty good little business to be in for a kid.
Yes. And so what did you do with the money? Did you have goals?
I grew up in a very, lower middle class family. Now we look back and say, oh my gosh, you didn't have much. We thought we had a lot, but I had an old bicycle that my sister gave me, and I had flat tires. So I bought tires, and then I made bakery up to Tony's Bakery and charged 35 cents for a full family bakery run and brought early morning stuff back to people.
How nice of you.
You were an entrepreneur.
Oh, I was making money. I wasn't doing it to be nice. I was doing it. Then I was able to go to the Cardinal Card Company, which I had seen in one of the kids magazines I got, and buy my first stock of all occasion cards. All them door to door, and then Christmas cards, and then they started introducing salt and pepper shakers. So, and then religious plaques. So I made no money on the religious plaques because my grandma loved them, and so I wouldn't charge. So the margins weren't good on the religion plaques. But, at the time, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew I could sell stuff and people were buying it. As you go through life and you learn business and you learn margins and you learn diversifying your product and cross-product selling and keeping your customer base, and you learn all of these things in college, I sat there and I thought, that's what happened on 9th Street with that little red wagon and all those products. You don't know it. But those kinds of lessons for all of us, I think, when you talk about the 50s and happy times in the 50s, it is really interesting to go back and think through those times and how imprinted we are with the lessons of life. And so I was learning business and I didn't even know it.
Yes, yes, very much so.
Yeah.
I have more houses before and afters of houses.
Okay, on 9th Street too.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Jack, let's see. Let me get the full screen here and we'll put those up. Okay, we have the amazing changes.
Now this is an interesting one because if you look at the before picture, that's right across the street from Grandma's house. And that was the house in the right after the war when my dad came home. My mother and my aunt had been living there. They each had a child. I wasn't born yet. And so they lived there right across from Grandma's house. When my sister was quarantined because she had scarlet fever, I believe, Grandpa would take the chair, the old wooden chair from this house and walk across the street. Of course, it was, a small street and up to that one window, the long window you saw. And he'd sit under the window every night and read my sister's stories.
Oh,
isn't that cool? Now, how can you have a house like that not maintained? So then if you look at the picture of after, that's what it looks like. We did a lot to it. We couldn't save the siding, and it is a lovely home. It had been turned into a duplex, and we turned it back into a one family home. And most of the homes that I sold after I fixed them up and the tax break, was gone, I sold to young families or some single women who don't own home, who'd never had a home before. So that was very rewarding too, to be able to do.
It's interesting that there are now 2 long windows on the bottom floor of the remodeled house versus one that you have.
Well, that's right. And when we lived there were 2 long windows.
Oh, okay.
At some point, somebody put a window air conditioner in. And to do that, they changed the whole, facade of the house. So.
Right.
Yes. Okay. We have a before and after again. And all these houses, folks.
Now that had been abandoned. That's also on 9th Street. And I bought that at a tax sale. And that had been abandoned. Again, it was a lot worse than it looked on it right now in the before picture because the roof had been off of it. So you can imagine the inside. I mean, it was really bad. And so we were able to go in and really make it. That was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. But one bath had been blocked off. So it really looked like a 1-bath house. So we really gutted the inside. That was the first house that I finished because I was still working on figuring out Grandma's house. And a lot of the things we put in that house, I bought on Craigslist that were used cabinets, used appliances. We had good success with that generally. I would not buy used appliances again. I learned a hard lesson because, I rented those houses and so I had to replace some things. But yeah, that was a big one.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Hold it up again, Kinsey. Or excuse me, Jane. Notice the new house has steps. Does the original house have steps, or I just can't?
Okay, that is. It does. If you look at the sidewalk, it doesn't come across in the picture, but there are steps there. The grass is really long and high, and there are steps there. So it's the same level. Yeah.
Okay.
So one more, and then before and after, then I have another question to ask too.
Oh, this is a good one. Oh, everybody loves this because it's so different than the traditional bungalows. And I wish I could give you all the information, but I can't give you everything because I don't want to, have people mad at me. But this was owned by a landlord and a retired Navy veteran who's now an amputee lived there. And he did not have good facilities for anything. He had one space heater he moved around to keep warm in the winter. And so we rented him a cottage that we had redone, and he moved out. Now, in the meantime, we had gotten minimum rental standards in place. And so for these, what I call slumlords, to sell their houses or re-rent them, they had to bring them up to code, which of course that wasn't going to happen. But so this house went on the market, but they wouldn't sell it to me because they said I was ruining the street by fixing things up. So my friend, a realtor, bought it and sold it to me for $1 over what she paid for it. And because they loved, of course, what we're doing. And then we turned it into that little stucco one with a turquoise trim that you see. And
I love it.
It's lovely on the inside. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun.
So, Peggy, are these quote unquote slumlords still alive?
Yes, and I sure hope they're not. What? One of them collects rent with a gun on his hip. So no. I mean, so I don't think I need to worry. But
Okay.
the definition of a slumlord is somebody who buys a house, generally at a tax sale or share sale. This is my definition, and they do minimal to it. They're not concerned about code because for whatever reason they get by with having houses that are minimum standards, and they're able to rent them to people who are marginalized or who don't have other places to go, who are willing to accept much lower standards and are afraid to say anything because they're afraid they'll get kicked out. Our town is working on housing. It's a really big issue because we don't have housing for people. And so we have a great program where we're bringing housing in and building at 3 levels of housing. But we haven't had, I think we went 16 years without having a new housing start here. So that you can't grow your town and attract people if you don't have housing. So, but we have a community college that is thriving. We have a great educational system. We have so many things, but because it's a small rural community that was agricultural based, and because of all the things that have happened to these communities, what we remember out of the 50s and 60s for these communities is not necessarily what they look like now. So it's really great that people are going back and pitching in, and instead of saying, "Oh, I hate it, I'm never coming back," you're saying, "What can I do?" This place helped me. It gave me a great education, great culture, great neighborhoods. What can I do? And maybe I can't fix up houses, but you know what? Maybe I can come back and maybe I can find somebody who is doing something and help them in some small way. So, that's.
Tell me about, go ahead, I'm finished up with that.
Well, I was just going to say, it switches something inside you when you decide to take action in a positive way and not just complain and blame and point fingers and talk about what used to be, because these little towns are never going to have the stores and things like that we all knew, because they have box stores outside of town. They have the Home Depot and the Walmart. People are not going to quit going to those, but they can have things. For instance, we have a building right now that's being looked at, and it looks like an employer may come in and have a customer service center there and employ 200 or 300 people. That would be huge for our town if that happens. And so we have 2 or 3 craftsmen. We have a wonderful man who goes out and cuts down the old pecan and walnut trees on property and mills his own wood and then turns it into furniture that's beautiful. And that kind of thing in Aspen, Colorado, or Santa Fe, New Mexico, those tables sell for thousands of dollars. And I walked in and he had a table for $400. It would have a $4,000 table in Aspen. So we can help these small businesses that are really great at what they do be more successful. And that's what we do.
Good for you. Well, my question had to do with the community college. When was that established?
Oh, God.
Has it grown?
Oh, yeah. It's over 100 years old. It's about 2,200 students.
Oh, my.
Grows every year. They won the National Basketball Championship 3 years ago, I believe. Very, very good in sports, very good in academics. Great staff and president who's really in touch with the community and very, very supportive. And it's close to town. It's within walking distance of the town, which we're working on revitalizing. And it's a good 2,200 for a small town college.
Yes.
They call it junior college. Now they call it community college. Is pretty good size. Yeah.
It is. And so is there a dormitory there, or where do
Oh
these
yeah. Oh yeah. Dormitories.
really
Yeah.
for a community college?
Yes. Yes.
And is it general, or is it specifically, is it medical, or either can you get a basic nursing there, or is it a welding class, or what?
Well, one of the interesting things that's happening, and I was just in a conversation the other day with a general contractor who's very successful, and talking to him. He's working on a bungalow, fixing it up for some people who are returning. Sound familiar? And he said, he introduced me to a couple of his workers, and he said I told Brian that, he needs to get skills. And I said, it's really interesting because that is really the direction even a lot of colleges are moving into, where they're giving training skills to people instead of just theoretical knowledge. And so, yes, the college has two focuses, at least the last time I talked to the people at the college about this, healthcare and technology, which are great areas.
Right.
In addition to that, they have a wonderful art program and music program. A gentleman who is hit on our Midland Theater board just took over the whole music department, both vocal and instrumental, and he's a uniter. He comes in and he brings together all the people in the county to play and all the former students to play, as well as his students. And he goes to the military bands and gets them in. And you see that and you think, this is how it should work, with everybody working together.
Right.
Sure. Peggy, tell us and our viewers, how has the influence that you have brought to this town of fixing up, cleaning up, let's make Coffeyville a better place to live, a more attractive place to live, how has that influenced the other residents of Coffeyville in the way they keep their homes and yards up?
Well, first of all, I think that is something that's still being determined. We see changes, a lot of changes. And I go back to what we call the broken glass theory. And we all know that in areas, in any, no matter what size the town, a city or a town, that when you start to see graffiti, if it's not immediately taken care of, more graffiti appears, and then there's a lot of graffiti and the whole area changes. And the same with what they call broken windows. Broken window theory is, if there's a broken window in a neighborhood that's kind of on the verge of changing either for better or worse, and you don't repair it, then, other broken windows occur, they're not repaired, and the whole area very quickly starts to deteriorate. The same holds true for when people start to fix things up, and that's what's happened. It's happened throughout the city, and there are many people who are contributing much more than I. I'm focused on 9th Street. And so I get a lot of visibility because of that, because we do things that have what we call critical mass. So, 5 of our houses are located together, 3 and then 2 across the street. So when you go down the street, on that particular block, we now have a half a dozen other houses that are being fixed up. So, of the 16 houses facing each other on the block, 8 on each side, we're going to have 6 or 7 on each side fixed up. You can't help but notice when you go down a block and you see the colored, the colored. We painted all of our houses or had them done in colors because my husband's family's from Norway. And when we were in Norway, we were struck by how lovely all of the colorful houses were. And, in Europe, old stuff doesn't get torn down. It gets taken care of.
Right.
So we decided to go with colors here because almost everything was white, and it has been very, very popular. A lot of people are doing colors. So,
do you find that real young couples are attracted to buying these houses, or is it more small families? How does it work?
The grandma's house yesterday. I had the head of housing in who just moved into that job, and she's a very, very smart, capable young woman. I don't know, early 30s. And she walked in and she went, wow, I could live here. That's exactly the reaction that we want. We want people to see this and know they could live here very comfortably, and they don't have to go outside of town or go to a trailer park or because these houses are so much more affordable than in most metropolitan areas where they take these old bungalows, they're close to town, they fix them up and they sell for 7 figures sometimes.
Oh my.
Oh yeah. In Chicago, I lived in Chicago in a brownstone, and that was 40 years ago. And at that time, people were buying the smaller homes, and if they weren't tearing them down, they were fixing them up, and they were because of location, close to town. So,
how far is you where you're at right now at your grandma's house? How far is that from downtown?
We're in the 1100 block, and town is the 100 block. So we're about 3/4 of a mile. It's a great walk.
Yeah,
we got an AARP grant, and it's called Walk the Block, and we have kiosks along the way, and we have a 2-mile walk with little markers on the sidewalk on 9th Street showing how far people have walked, and we need to do more with that. That's something that's on my goals for this summer, is to get more people out walking 9th Street.
Yes. Peggy, it's been a delight to visit with you again, to hear about the fun changes that you are helping to inspire in Coffeyville, Kansas, from when you knew it back in the 50s.
Thank you. Thank you.
We appreciate your taking your time and enlightening us with your wonderful story, and we're glad it's continuing on. So, folks, we invite you to look at the website below, www. While the Windmill Watch. You'll be able to find Peggy's interview, as well as many other interviews and much information about the book While the Windmill Watch, which has been sitting up right in the corner of my screen. So check that out. Yeah. And do tell your friends and even your relatives about the 1950s Fun Chat. So until next time, toodaloo.